earlier question, are there CCP middlemen in the American judicial system? You bet there are. Maybe I should rephrase this question. Who in the U.S. judicial system will the CCP seek to influence to achieve its goals? 25 out of 44 U.S. presidents have been attorneys by trade than any other profession. According to the most updated membership report of the 117th Congress, 32.7% or 144 members of the House and 50% or 50 senators hold law degrees. So lawyers are everywhere, from executive to legislative, and of course to the judicial branch. In 1992, the CCP officially allowed international law firms to open offices in China with heavy restrictions. Today, a total of 188 representative offices of foreign law firms in China, among which over 100 are from the United States. However, these foreign law firms' ability to stay in operation in China hinges on successfully passing an annual examination required by the PRC's Department of Justice. After 3 decades of engaging with the Western rule of law representatives, Communist China did not become more American-like. Instead, the rule of law and the Chinese legal system has become an effective tool for totalitarian rulers to oppress the people, eliminate dissidents, and ensure their absolute power. As Chinese President Xi Jinping puts it plainly for his audiences, all should respect the laws, but the laws should respect the CCP. The law should be interpreted according to the CCP's orders, directives, and interests. And the basic requirement for legal services personnel is to uphold the leadership of the party. Today, all Chinese lawyers must accept the notion that the rule of law is subject to the leadership of the Communist Party. Chinese judges are prohibited from citing the Constitution as a source of law. But the most absurd thing is that despite all of the above, Communist China is the home of the world's largest and most profitable foreign law firms. At the hearing held on July 21, 2022, in the Connecticut Bankruptcy Court, Judge Manning asked, "But the statement you just made is the Chinese government has control over people who do business with them. Well, the control might be that they want the company to produce 12 cars as opposed to 20. How does that affect Mr. Guo and Paul Hastings?" The answer to her question is well researched and documented by the American government. But unfortunately, average Americans are not informed or misinformed, or don't understand or bother to understand how things that happened thousands of miles away would affect their life in America. The CCP's shadow has been at the inception and every twist and turn of this 5-year-long PAC's case against Miles Guo.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of the CCP Reality Check special series on how the CCP infiltrates the U.S. judicial system. I'm your host, David Starwatcher, and together with me tonight again is our co-host, Nancy.
Hello.
Nancy,
Thanks, David.
please.
Hello, everyone. Hello, David. I'm your co-host, Nancy, from New Federal State of China with Washington, D.C. farm. Glad to join David tonight.
Thank you. And I'm also from the New Federal State of China, New Federal State of China's Washington, D.C. farm. So we have been going through 8 episodes of this special series, been talking about how the CCP infiltrates the U.S. judicial system by looking into a series of cases and a series of people who are being actually pleaded guilty for the things that are actually done and the involvement with the CCP's unrestricted lawfare in the United States and especially against Mr. Miles Guo. So today we are going to look into the case, especially the involvement of Pras Michel. That is what we're going to look into. So without further ado, let's start looking into the case. Before that, I'm going to read the disclaimer. Again, this video is for educational and informative purposes only. We are dedicated to share with you what is really happening in China and to try our best to verify information used, Jointly, we fight back CCP propaganda. We highly value your independent research, critical thinking, and comments from the CCP Reality Check team. So let's move on. So again, today's series is still evolving around the big question, how the CCP infiltrates the U.S. judicial system. But let's continue. We will be looking into, and from perspective of the case of Pras Michel, and in particularly his involvement in the CCP's unrestricted lawfare that is waged against Mr. Mao Squaw. Let's continue. This particular roadmap here, again, if any of our audiences have already watched the previous episodes of this special series, you might have been very familiar with this roadmap. But to our new audiences, I would like to do a very quick recap, a very quick introduction to this brief roadmap here. This roadmap shows you a number of people who have been involved in the CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Mao Squaw. And the CCP Reality Check special series focuses on revealing how the CCP is infiltrating the United States judicial system, and to review the details of the CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Mao Squaw. The CCP's growing influence to the United States judicial system represents one of the largest threats to the United States. We have no intention to attack any individual. So let's move on. We are now dive into the case of Pras Michel. But for this one, it's actually the following. I just read out the underlined parts first. It says that in all about February 2018, Pras Michel received a grand jury subpoena requesting records concerning both a foreign and conduit contribution scheme involving Jho Low, and the unregistered lobbying scheme involving Jho Low, Broidy, Nickie Lum Davies, Higginbotham, and others. And of course, there's one person who is not Higginbotham. The person on the right on the lower part right picture is Steve Wynn. He is also involved in this CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Mao Squaw. So we will be moving on to looking into the criminal investigation of this particular case. Even though Pras Michel, we seen him pleaded guilty, but at this point, we saw that a criminal investigation has already started. So we now see the case number is 19-CR1148 concerning both Pras Michel and Jho Low. And of course, at this time, they have been indicted with wait for a second, not four, but several counts of crimes. I would like to read it out for you. Count 1 is conspiracy. Count 2 is false statement. Count 3 and 4 is the false entry in record. Count 5 and 6 is the witness tampering. And the count 7 and 8 is the violation of FARA, which is the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And then we move on to looking into more details about this. So we have seen that this is actually an excerpt. We're looking into this particular slide here. This is actually an excerpt from the entire investigation. The same investigation here already says that on or about May the 2nd, 2019, a grand jury returned an indictment charging Michel with 4 counts in connection with a scheme to defraud the FEC and to make foreign and conduit contributions. And we also have looking into that there's another one. Line 88 says, on or about May 16, 2019, the government provided its first discovery production to Michel's counsel. Among the records produced were interview reports and the transcripts of the grand jury testimony of individual A and multiple straw donors. Well, these details, they may not seem connected, but it is actually a part of the CCP's attempt to trying to extradite Mr. Miles Guo back to the Communist China. Let's move on to the next slide to see even more details. Okay, dear viewers, we finally got this particular one. It says the underlined part is somewhat really should raising our concerns. It says here, concealed from the administration and DOJ officials as part of their efforts, Pras Michel, Jho Low, and along with Nickie Lum Davies and others, they have the agreement to operate within the United States, subject to the direction of the PRC Minister A and the PRC government, which is the CCP. Number 2, it says Jho Low's involvement in the scheme. Number 3, it says Pras Michel also tries to conceal from the US government and the DOJ officials the millions of dollars that Jho Low was paying Pras Michel and other co-conspirators, and the additional funds expected to be received by Pras Michel and the other co-conspirators in the future if foreign national A was deported or otherwise sent back to the PRC. Basically, if I put that in short, means that summarized as saying, if they successfully deported this foreign national A, then Jho Low will be paying more money paying more money to Pras Michel and other co-conspirators. The foreign national A here is Mr. Miles Guo. So there's a big question, Nancy. If we have looking so many things at this point, why would Pras Michel try to actively assist the cover-up of these participants of their involvement of the CCP's agenda? Why is he doing that?
Yeah, David, it is a great question. Why Pras Michel is involved? And we need to get the background information on April 19th, year 2017. Why CCP blocked from VOA's live interview with Ms. Miles Guo. VOA abruptly cut short Mr. Miles Guo's live interview with vocal criticism to Beijing during the live interview. The same day, VOA subsequently put 5 of his own journalists on administrative leave. So as early as March 2017, CCP sent senior official Liu Yanping to New York to warn Mr. Miles Guo not to participate in VOA's live broadcast. Because of Miles Guo's plan to broadcast a live interview with VOA and explore the Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan and the high degree of corruption inside Hainan Airline Group controlled by Wang's family. At the same time, another senior CCP official, Lee Jun, repeatedly threatened Miles Guo that he would take away everything from Mr. Miles Guo and family, leaving Mr. Miles Guo no chance to survive in this world. Sun also told Miles Guo the Pacific Alliance Group, PAG, which is showing up in recent Miles Guo's bankruptcy case, will make Miles Guo's life a mad dog, unable to find a place to survive. So Pras Michel was selected right after the threatening failed to prevent Ms. Miles Gore to reveal CCP's corruption, and so they need some assist from U.S. insider to remove Ms. Miles Gore from the United States and send him back to the CCP's regime. So CCP must pay Pras Michel attractive price.
So before we move on, Nancy, so you mean that actually before the deportation or the failed extradition at this point, CCP via Liu Yan, correct me if I'm right, via Sun Lijun, to issue a threat against Mr. Miles Gore that they will use the PAG, which is we already seen in numerous cases of the unrestricted lawfare. That is plaintiff. They try to got a lawfare against Mr. Miles Gore. The CCP via Sun already issued a threat that they will use the PAG to make Mr. Miles Gore, in their words, to making him unable to leave peacefully and making him live like a mad dog, unable to find a place to survive, in their own words. And then when this failed, CCP chose to use Pras Michel to carry out, as one of the person to carry out this plan to extradite Mr. Miles Gore from the soil of the United States. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh. My goodness, that is really shocking detail. Really shocking detail. And in that case, we have to continue looking deeper into this case to see, because there are more details to looking into. Nancy, I know you have some other details about Pras Michel's involvement in this particular case you want to share with us.
Yeah.
So would you please share with us?
Right. This is more. This is from the case of Nickie Lum Davies. Right. Let's move to the next.
Excuse me for a second, Director. Would you please move it to the next slide? Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, this page is quoted from the Nickie Lum Davies case, which in the case Nickie Lum Davies was pledged guilty already. So here's before we read going through the paragraph, here's the detailed summary of the key figures that are involved in this paragraph. So foreign national A is Jho Low, right? The PRC minister equals to Sun Lijun. And person B is Elliot Broidy, defendant is Nickie Lum Davies. So person A is Pras Michel. So now, after introduction of the key figures that are involved in this paragraph, so I'll just read it through. Right on about May 18th, 2017, Pras Michel, Elliot Broidy, and Nickie Lum Davies traveled to Hong Kong and Shenzhen, China, to meet Jho Low and Sun Lijun in a hotel suite. Sun Lijun asked Elliot Broidy to use his influence with high-ranking U.S. officials to advocate for Mr. Miles Gore's removal and return to CCP regime.
So now we see the pattern. We see the detail of the involvement at this point. And thank you very much, Nancy. And thank you very much, Nancy, for sharing this with us. So yes, we already saw the details saying how Pras Michel is being involved in the entire case by looking to say Pras Michel traveled with Elliot Broidy and several other co-conspirators, including Nickie Lum Davies, to Hong Kong and then to Shenzhen, China, to meet Li Junsun, one of the most high-ranking CCP officials at the time. So but we found out the fact is, it's not just Pras Michel's involvement is not stopped here, as we shall see in the next slide. So in this particular slide, we see Pras here. This is from the Elliot Broidy's case. not from Nickie Lum Davies' case. Before we start, I would like to help our audience viewers to guide through who is who. The foreign national A here is Jho Low. The person A here is Pras Michel. So we are going to look into the highlighted parts, saying the first one says Jho Low agreed to pay Broidy an $8 million retainer. And then the second underlined part says that Broidy and Davies agreed that Broidy would pay Davies a percentage of what Broidy received. Pras Michel here, which is the person A referred to, Pras Michel told Broidy and Davies that Pras Michel's friend Higginbotham, a DOJ attorney, was verifying the legitimacy of the funds. Broidy never met or spoke with Higginbotham. So we now see here that Pras Michel offered to would have the money first routed via him, and then from Pras Michel he will routed that money from Jho Low to Higginbotham. So you may want to ask, what is that detail stands for? We will looking into the next slide to looking further more details to connect them together. So we are now looking into the case, again, back into the case of George Higginbotham. We are looking into Pras Michel's involvement in the CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo. So here we see co-conspirator A is Pras which is of whom is the Pras Michel, and co-conspirator B is Jho Low. The country Q here is referring to the CCP regime. So the highlighted part here says that from in or about May 2017 and in or about September 2017, tens of millions of dollars were transferred from foreign company L, an entity formed in country Q, which is located inside of the Communist China. And in the second part, which is the second one and an underlined part, what is that for? It is for lobbying the United States government officials to resolve the 1MDB matters and have foreign national one removed from the United States and sent back to country Q. The foreign national one here is referring to Mr. Miles Guo. So now we see that CCP regime transferred money to Pras Michel to pay for the resolve of the 1MDB, publicly known, and deportation of Mr. Miles Guo back to the Communist China. So Nancy, I have a question here after we have looking into so many details about Pras Michel's involvement and his entire saying. We saw the route of how the money comes in and out, and we also saw how he is acting in this entire different case, his entire involvement in different cases. So the question is, Pras Michel is a rap singer, and he is not supposed to have direct conflict against Mr. Miles Guo. But why would Pras Michel would involve in this scheme that is directed against Mr. Miles Guo? I cannot understand why.
I'm also going through the logic, right? There's the Pras Michel has no direct conflict with Mr. Miles Guo as we know. But then we just have explained that earlier. Mr. Miles Guo is considered the number one enemy or threat to the CCP regime at that time, right? Because he was determined to take down the CCP regime, and he was not threatened by the CCP regime. So CCP would pay any price to get Mr. Miles Guo removed outside of the U.S. and returned back to China. So Pras Michel, I guess he was selected by CCP to remove Mr. Miles Guo because he's popular right? And he has very broad and wide connections, right? And then we can tell that he was involved in few other cases that the people already pledged guilty, right? And then that's like where I came from. But I also have another question, right, from this page. We can read between the lines, and there are other officials of the United government might have received part of CCP's money, right? It'll be interesting to find out who is the person one that is unrevealed in this case, but was mentioned in this paragraph.
So that's basically, you mean the person one in the George Higginbotham's case
Right.
is still unknown to this day.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we will. I'm also very well. All of us are very much hoping to see who that person one is in the future. As for now, we already see through this entire details that is being presented from the case of George Higginbotham. We will move on to looking into further detail from the case of Higginbotham about Pras Michel's involvement. So we now see that there are two highlighted parts. So again, the co-conspirator A here is Pras Michel, co-conspirator B is Jho Low, and foreign national 1 is Mr. Miles Guo. Since it is a very long-winded case, we already help you summarize it. So help you summarize it. It is the following. Number one, the $41 million was deposited into George Higginbotham's escrow account. And then number two, Pras Michel directed Higginbotham to disburse this money to Pras Michel's entertainment projects so that it can be making the money to appear much more legitimate. So we also see in the highlighted part, the second highlighted part, saying that the diversion of the funds to Higginbotham's account is directly related to the attempted removal of Mr. Miles Guo from the United States. So now we already saw very clearly the entire movement of how, and all these clear details on how Pras Michel involved in the CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo, and of course the CCP's attempt of trying to remove Mr. Miles Guo from the United States. We are about to get into again conclusion of today's episode. Now we do a quick recap of the background. Let's continue to the end of the slide. So again, this is a recap. For these are, again, we now see in the roadmap, these are the people involved in CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo. Bruno Zhongwu is the mastermind behind the lawfare. Now, we shared the George Higginbotham's case, Jho Low's case, Nickie Lum Davies' case, Elliot Broidy's case. These are the people who have already pleaded guilty. Now, we also shared the involvement of Pras Michel, who is a rap singer in this entire CCP's unrestricted lawfare against Mr. Miles Guo, and of course the CCP's attempted removal of Mr. Miles Guo from the soil of the United States. But after seeing so many details, there's a big question we have to ask ourselves. Why would Pras Michel, a rap artist involved in the CCP's unrestricted lawfare, with such a deep level in the first place? And the lawsuit of Pras Michel is still in progress. We believe the United States judicial system, of course, will serve the rule of law. So please stay tuned. But Nancy, before we end, we would like to look into some of the questions raised by inside our live chat. Would you agree? Okay, there is one of the first question is Michel most important for handling money and payment and the laundering money? Nancy, what is your take on this?
Okay. For handling money and laundering money, I think we have went through in the case of George Higginbotham. So George Higginbotham was pledged guilty not for his officer at the DOJ. He was pledged guilty because he was setting up all these bank accounts on behalf of the Jho Low, and using this account to launder all this money. There's some background information we have already shared in earlier episode. Yeah.
So it is. So from detail is that George Higginbotham set up this account, but Pras Michel is the one who gave out the directions to George Higginbotham according to the details and the factual information of the cases.
Right.
Okay, and if that's, and also we have scrolled through, since we scrolled through the entire live chat section, we have not seen even more questions raised from our viewers. So that concludes tonight's episode of the CCP Reality Checks Special Series, episode 9, on how the CCP infiltrates the U.S. judicial system. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We will see you next time.
Yeah, thank
Goodbye.
you everyone for joining us. Good night.
Gotta stop, enough is enough. I can't take this BS any longer. It's gone far enough. You wanna claim my soul, you'll have to come and break down this door. I knew that something was going on wrong when you started laying down the law. I can't move my hands, I break out in sweat. I wanna cry, can't take it anymore. This has gotta stop, enough is enough. I can't take this BS any longer. It's gone far enough. You wanna claim my soul, you'll have to come and break down this door. I've been around a long, long time, seen it all, and I'm used to being free. I know who I am, try to do what's right, so lock me up and throw away the key. This has gotta stop, enough is enough. I can't take this BS any longer. It's gone far enough. You wanna claim my soul, you'll have to come and break down this door. Kids, what's left for them, and then what's coming down the road. The light in the tunnel could be the southbound train. Lord, please help them with the load. This has gotta stop, enough is enough. I can't take this BS any longer. It's gone far enough. You wanna claim my soul, you'll have to come and break down this door. This has gotta stop. Enough is enough. I can't take this BS any longer. It's gone far enough. You wanna claim my soul, you'll have to come and break down this door.